Hello Aquarius, and welcome to my channel Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements, looking at your connection between you and the person that you are dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. We will be pulling for all three sides of this connection, so we'll be looking at your energy toward it, their energy toward it, and the energy in between it. The concept being that there are three sides to every story, so we'll be looking at your version of the truth, their version of the truth, and this higher level unbiased truth in the middle. This middle section is looking at what is the deeper purpose of the connection and the best way for you to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. Friendly reminder that these are general readings. They are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate fully for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation, if anything, and leave what does not. On that note, the whole reading can be reversed. So especially if you're a cross watcher, that's totally fine and totally normal. Again, the point is to take what resonates for you and leave what does not. Last thing is that any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right, Aquarius, let's jump on in. This is for Aquarius's side of the connection to the person they are dealing with. One more. Aquarius's side of this connection. Aquarius' side of this connection to the person they need to learn the most from right now. You have healing. You have romance and you have triggered. Oh, this connection is triggering you into healing. Okay, this romance card, I feel like, represents that there are really strong feelings here. And I feel like there have been really strong feelings for this person probably since the beginning. In fact, I feel like I get this feeling that they kind of slapped you across the face. Like, I feel like it was very intense. It doesn't feel much like a slow burn. It could have been, but that's not the vibe I'm getting. I feel like this is very much one of those connections that maybe went from 0 to 100. Now you're in this position where I feel like a lot of like those wounds are starting to come to the surface. I mean, in any connection that we're in, whenever we are really with anybody, it doesn't really matter what they are to us. They show us parts of ourselves, right? There's wounding that comes to the surface. Triggering happens, and the purpose of that is to help us heal. I mean, our connections are always there to kind of help us on our healing journey. However, sometimes, depending on the person that we're dealing with, it can add a level of complication to the connection when only one person is really focusing on healing and the other kind of just continues to do the triggering. Now, I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but I do very much feel as if this connection has done quite a bit of triggering you. Like I said, your wounding, maybe your fears, your insecurities in some way. But let's see. This person's energy toward Aquarius, please. Sparks. Whoa. Optimism. Codependency. Okay. And then contract. Interesting. Soul contract at play here. Or like they're involved in a soul contract elsewhere. That could also be the case here, which might be what's kind of leading to some of the triggering. I feel like this person, when you guys first met, had a lot of hope of where this was going to go to. Like this Sparks card to me kind of makes me feel like you in some way sparked some deeper feelings in them too. Like I feel like the feelings are and maybe even were very mutual. However, I feel like this person is, I don't know if they're trapped in something or they're trapped in like a dynamic or something that is keeping them from being able to show up in this connection in like a fully healthy way. And I feel like that might be what is triggering you the most. I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know what's going on. But I do definitely feel like there's something outside of this connection that is heavily affecting the connection itself. And it might be like, I mean, maybe this person's married, maybe they're still caught up with an ex. If it is, I feel like you know about it because it's obviously triggering you. So it's whatever this is, you know about it. Now, I'm not saying they are caught up on an ex or that there's something like that, like specifically going on. I just feel like there is something outside of this connection that is affecting their ability to show up for the connection. And it might literally just be like their own unhealthy habits that like would be present whether or not you were part of the picture or not. So it's like, again, things that don't necessarily have to do with you. Truth of the connection between Aquarius and this person. Detachment. Yeah, because I feel like that's what's happening. You feel like this person is really detached, and I feel like that's what's triggering you the most. Okay, I didn't know if that was turning all the way around. And then you have money versus love. Now, money versus love card, I don't literally think needs to mean like this is talking about like literal money versus love, but it can sometimes mean, you know, the difference between someone who checks all of your boxes and the difference in versus somebody who like shows up and loves you well, right? Like I think sometimes we might focus on, oh, this person has a lot of the things that I desire, but you know, they have these toxic habits that affects their ability to love me well. And I feel like part of that is their detachment. And I feel like the detachment stemming from somewhere, I don't know what that is. Maybe we'll get an answer on that in this reading. But I feel like there's something about this connection that's triggering you into healing deeper wounds that keep you from being able to experience love in the way that you do truly deserve. Because you don't deserve someone who's detached and caught up in something else or dealing with toxic habits. You deserve someone who, obviously no one's perfect, but you deserve someone who shows up for the connection, who loves you in the way that you deserve, who makes you feel chosen and seen and heard and all the things, right? But I feel like there's probably a little bit more to the story. So I'm sure we will continue to uncover what is going on as we eventually dive into tarot. But first, we're going to get the overall theme of the reading here. Overall theme of this reading for Aquarius. Children. Your love life is being affected by children now, and then so that could be something. This person has children or something with somebody else, or I feel like this could also be inner child energy in general. Finances and career. Financial issues. So yeah, it's the second time we're seeing finances in this. Maybe part of the issue is someone in this connection is dependent on somebody else financially. Maybe that adds a layer of complication to things. Especially if you're dealing with someone who is like depending on you financially and not really doing anything to like help themselves. It just kind of feels like they're taking advantage, like it feels to you like they're taking advantage of you. I'm not saying this person is. So I've got a lot to unpack here. There's a lot to address because I feel like there's so many different aspects to this that have come out. I mean, we've got codependency, we've got detachment, we've got the money versus love thing, we've got the inner child thing. They're triggering you into healing, so let's see. Inner child or like literal children maybe. But let's see. Let's see here. This is for Aquarius' side of this connection triggered with healing. Maybe also like you want children and they don't or something. Like that can always create issues in any kind of connection, right? When you're not on the same page about your future. All right. Aquarius' side of this connection here. Could also be dealing with someone who's more interested in the pursuit of money versus like opening up to love. That could really be something too. And like they're super caught up in their career or more focused on like their material endeavors than their relationship endeavors, which can absolutely affect how loved you feel you are. Page of Cups in reverse. Oh. Seven of Cups. So your intuition is onto something here. But there's also this energy of maybe ignoring gut feelings. And maybe that's why you're in this reading, is you're like, I know something's going on, or there's something deeper to this, but I don't really know what it is. The Seven of Cups is this, I don't really know what to do, I don't know what to think, I don't know what to feel kind of thing. Now then you have this Knight of Cups. So you have strong feelings for this person, and I feel like that's why maybe you have maybe put up with a lot or stayed in the connection for as long as you have, or maybe even look past some of the things, like especially if you have seen like red flags or certain things pop up, maybe you're like, well, but I really love them, or I really care about them, or I really like them, or whatever. So you're like, that doesn't really matter. Maybe, maybe that'll go away, or maybe that issue will resolve itself. And I feel like in the process of this, because with the Seven of Wands in reverse, you've maybe in a little bit, and we've all been there, we've all done it, but maybe in some ways you have allowed this person to cross your boundaries. And I do think that we have a tendency to do that whenever we really love and care about somebody, especially if like you're, like I said, like taking care of someone, or you're really trying to support them in some way. You might be like, okay, for a little bit, sure, like I'll take care of the finances, or I'll, plan the dates or whatever. And I feel like you've really kind of taken on the burden of the connection itself. But then as time has gone on, it feels like as you've been carrying more and more of the burden, it feels like this person's been detaching more and more. And I feel like that's made things really complicated for you, because there's this part of you that I feel like is like, I know that I want more. Like, I want more of this. But then at the same time, I feel like you have a lot of empathy maybe for what this person's going through or where they're at. So maybe there's almost this willingness to kind of just, do what it is that you need to do for the sake of the connection. And I will say, like, in any healthy connection, not everything is 50-50, right? There's going to be times where you show up with more, because they have less, but then there should also be times where they show up with more because you have less. Like, it might not be 50-50 all the time, but it should balance out pretty damn close, right? And I feel like specifically in this connection, there's this energy of you carrying a lot in it, a lot of the burden. And I feel like there is a lot of triggering going on here, because I feel like there's this deeper part of you, like you might find yourself getting mad at little things like leaving dishes in the sink, or little things that don't seem like a big deal, but maybe they're actually pointing to a deeper issue, which is like, I'm frustrated about you leaving dishes in the sink because I feel like I'm doing everything alone, right? A lot of times we actually tend to get upset at little things whenever we're not addressing the bigger things. And I feel like there is something big here that's needing to be addressed. I don't really know what it is, and it might be too specific for a general reading, but there's something big here, and it has to do with you feeling like you are bearing, the majority of this burden. You have the Lovers in reverse. See, you don't feel like you're getting what you need. You don't feel like you're getting what you deserve. And I feel like it's really frustrating you. Now, I feel like for a while, maybe you were willing to look past it. You're willing to kind of, be like, oh, it's fine. Like, that's just how things are right now. Like, oh, this person lost their job. Like, it'll be fine. They'll find another one. But then it's like they're sitting on the couch for months on end, not doing anything to find another job. And you're like, I'm struggling. I have an income for that can barely support, me, much less both of us. Like, this is just an example. I'm not saying this is exactly what's happening, but that's kind of the vibe that I get, is like this person maybe has become very dependent on you, maybe financially, maybe emotionally too. It's like you're always the one showing up in the emotional ways, like I said, like planning the dates or putting in the effort. And I feel like you're getting really frustrated that you're not getting a whole lot of that in return. It's like the burden of this relationship has very heavily fallen on you. Now, I feel, because you have the Page of Pentacles, the Wheel of Fortune, and the Temperance, I feel like you are, I wouldn't say, it's just made me think of this. I once said the Temperance, and someone was like, it's actually just Temperance. And I was like, yeah, but I'm saying the Temperance card. Anyway, I feel like you've been waiting on things to change in like a positive way, like waiting for things to get better, waiting for things to maybe shift out to where they're a little bit more even. But I just feel like you've been stuck. And I feel like that's why you don't know what to feel or what to do, because you're like, well, I don't want to be selfish, but also like something's got to give here, right? So I don't know. This is complicated. This is complicated for sure. Now, I do feel like one of the things I talk about a lot in my reading is that, in my readings in general, is that boundaries are never a bad idea. You know, being, and at the very least, like being honest about how you feel. You know, hey, I really need more effort, like whether it's romantically, whether it's financially, whether it's just in general, like I feel like I'm the one bearing the burden of this relationship, and that's not fair to me, right? Like the biggest thing that we can focus on is what's within our control, and the biggest thing that's in our control is making sure that we're being very clear about where we're at and what we need. Otherwise, we like kind of turn into wanting the other person to read our mind, and that's not fair to them either, right? I'm not saying you're doing this. This might just be for somebody out there. So if you're needing more in your relationship or in your connections in general, you cannot be afraid to ask, you know, and I've learned that in speaking your truth, you're going to lose people, but you're going to lose the people that aren't willing to align with what it is that you need anyway. But the problem with setting boundaries is we have to believe that we're deserving of what it is that we need. And a lot of times we're taught that our needs are a burden, or that what we desire in connections is too much, or that we're too much. And so, you know, we kind of pull back from talking about our needs or being honest about what we need, because we think that that makes us more attractive or more digestible to other people in some way. But I don't know. I feel like this connection is trying to push you to see that regardless of what other people are dealing with, and yes, give other people a break when they're going through a hard time, but at some point you have to be willing to say, this is too much for me. Like, I need help, right? Like, I need reciprocity. Okay, this person's energy toward Aquarius. This kind of feels like one of those giver-taker kind of relationships. And I think that that's what's really hard, is like when you're dealing with someone who majority takes, like you're probably dealing with someone who is pretty codependent, who relies on other people to feel valuable, to feel worthy, to feel good enough. And they take all they can get from the connection, but then they don't really give a whole lot in return. And that, takers don't have a limit. They can take, but givers do, right? At some point you're like, I can't keep doing this. Like, this isn't good for me. This person's energy for Aquarius. Two of Wands in reverse, which, interesting. Okay, because the Two of Wands in reverse is an energy of like not being in alignment, right? Typically is what I see it. I can also sometimes see it as like obsessively overthinking, obsessively overplanning, like not being in alignment because you're super stuck in your head about what to do next and how to approach things and what's the right choice and what's the right option. And it's really interesting to me because I do feel like this person has good intentions, but I feel like they're kind of stuck in their own, like war with themselves in a way. Now you have this Two of Cups. So I do feel like this person has love for you. I feel like they care about you. I feel like they care about the connection. I don't feel like there's like they're like faking or that they're lying to you when they say that they want to be with you or that they want this to work. What I do feel though is that this person has a lot of baggage. They come with a lot of baggage from their past. Now, we're all adults here. We've all got baggage, right? We've all been through stuff. We've all been hurt. We've all got trauma. We all have stuff. But healthy relationships are a product of both people dealing with their stuff and not making it the person that they're in a connection with's problem. Unhealthy relationships result when baggage from the past gets dragged into, you know what I'm saying, into the new connection. And it's like, you know, here are all my past problems. They're your problem now. And I feel like where I'm kind of going with this message and what I'm kind of feeling is the biggest reason that this person isn't making decisions that align with their highest good, right? Because I don't feel like they're showing up for this connection. I feel like they're detaching. They're pushing you away or creating distance or getting caught up in things that aren't good for them or stuck on something that isn't good for them, toxic habits, whatever the case is. I feel like the biggest reason for that is because this person is distracting themselves in some way from either themselves or from some sort of fear of vulnerability or fear of failure. It's almost like they're caught up in situations or in like acting in situations in a way that just like honestly doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like I feel like that's where a lot of maybe your frustration is coming from, is you're like, why are you doing these things, or why are you acting this way? Like, I have feelings for you, you have feelings for me. Like, why can't we just make this work? And it feels like this person is running from something, from themselves, from, I don't know, from their path. I don't know what it is, but it definitely feels like there's this this energy of distraction. This person is very distracted or trying to distract themselves. And I will say, like, what I've really learned about healthy connections is they require you to face you. I started this reading talking about, you know, we saw this triggered card, we saw the mirroring card, and I talked about how relationships force you to face yourself, right? They force you to look yourself in the mirror and to say, these are the ways that I love well, these are the ways that I don't know how to love all that well, and the reasons why are because I don't love myself in these ways all that well, or I have these issues from my past, right? Relationships require us to look at those things. And especially if you're someone who's watching tarot, you're probably on some sort of healing growth journey, so maybe there is that level of self-awareness of, you know, trying to do your best or trying to take accountability or whatever the case is. Maybe there's not, and maybe there's a mirror there too. But I will say, I feel like this person is doing what they can to not have to face those things. And so it's interesting because as the connection grows closer, and as you guys start to develop a deeper connection, since this person doesn't want to face themselves on a deeper level, they're going to do whatever they can, distract themselves or invest in things that aren't good for them or toxic habits that sabotage the connection, because they don't want to have to go deeper, right? They don't want to have to face the hard stuff. And I feel like that is why they're in this position of taking, is it's like they do desire love. They have feelings for you. Like that's there. I definitely see that. But I feel like they aren't at a place where they are able to really truly show up for the love that you are ultimately looking for here. And I feel like it's almost like their behavior and their decisions are aligning more with running away from themselves than, whatever they need to do to face themselves, which is going to look like them running from you, which is where their detachment is coming from. They're not running from you, though. They're not pushing you away. They're running from themselves. They don't want to face what's going on below the surface. Now, that's maybe why they're getting caught up in, like, the pursuit of financial endeavors, or they're prioritizing material things more than they're actually prioritizing the connection, whatever the case might be. Either way, I feel like you need to know that their behavior doesn't have anything to do with you, because I think that's the other thing, is when you're pouring into someone and you're bearing the burden of a connection, it's really easy for you to start to dip into this mentality of like, wow, like I must not be enough for this person. Like I'm literally giving them everything I have and they are not giving me anything in return, and they're taking everything I have. And it's one time I saw this in a the way that it was described was in a video I saw. I don't remember. It was couple of years ago, but it was this piece of paper, and it was like the giver versus the taker, and the taker was like, hey, like, can I have some of that? And the giver's like, sure, here, and like tears off a piece of paper, and the taker's like, can I have a little bit more? And the giver's like, yeah, absolutely, here you go. And like that process keeps continuing until he's torn off the whole paper and given it to the taker, and then, you know, the taker's like, hey, can I have more? And the giver's like, that's all I got. Like, I've literally given you everything that I have. And the taker's like, oh, okay, well, since I don't know how to give myself the things that I need to give myself the love and attention and validation that I need, I only know how to get that from things outside of myself. I only know how to get that from my relationships or my pursuit of my career or my friends or whatever the case is. So since you don't have as much to give me because you've given me everything, I'm going to start prioritizing other things in my life, such as my career or my friends, or again, toxic habits that allow them to like continue to feed themselves with that validation and the, you know, the love or the attention that they need, which leaves you completely out in the cold, right? And that's not fair to anybody. So I think that it's hard because it's dealing with people like this. I feel like you, especially when you love and care about them, you want to be the one to help them, right? You want to support them. You want to help them feel good about themselves. And I think that, I know I just realized that I said, like, you're dealing with, like, the finances, and they're just, like, sitting on the couch. And then I turned around and said, oh, they're, you know, only pursuing material endeavors. Remember, when I'm saying things like that, I'm merely giving an example of the energy. I am not saying that is exactly what's happening, okay? Because you could be bearing the burden of this connection in some other way that doesn't have to do with finances at all, right? Emotionally, while they're off pursuing finances, but you could also be bearing the connection financially while they're off, you know, doing whatever else. So I do feel like I just want that reminder that these are general, just examples that I'm giving, but I do think that there's a lot of different factors that play into why they're behaving the way that they do that doesn't really have anything to do with how they feel about you, because they do feel like they have feelings for you. Now, the only thing that's in your control, right, we saw this with the Seven of Wands in reverse, is setting boundaries, speaking up about what you need, and just putting the ball in their court and basically saying, look, like, I'm not okay with the way that things are. I need things to be different. Are you willing to do that? And just kind of seeing how they respond, because somebody's response to your boundaries is a direct message from the universe about whether that person is meant to be in your life or not. In between this connection, you have detachment with money versus love. I'm going to dive deeper into these messages, looking at the deeper purpose and the best way for you to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. Thank you so much, Aquarius, as always, for your support of my channel. I do hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things that you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. Bye, Aquarius.